And I do want to talk about Slapjack. I thought that you could get it over as, I mean, I've seen you perform for a long time. I thought that you could do it as like an endearing thing. Like it's such a ridiculous thing that this performer can make it work. But
Yeah.
but I mean it seemed like, I mean, I can tell you I was on I was on the conference call when Vince McMahon was asked by an investor, "Where are your new stars? Where are the ratings?" And then the
Yeah.
next day, I was told, "We just had the craziest ass creative meeting. Wait
I can
until you
imagine.
see." And
Yeah.
then that started. At that point, had you heard anything about being involved in Retribution?
No, this is all new to me as well. Like I didn't
Yeah.
know that kind of thing, but like we'd heard they needed to bring a bunch of people up to be. I don't know. Was this before they even did the attacking the
It
PC
was
and stuff?
it was like a
Or
few days before. It was like, I want to say 3 or 4
okay,
days before when I heard about the meeting, and the day before that was the conference call. But
yeah,
I know that there were people that I had talked to near Creative that hadn't heard really the scope of all of it until the
yeah.
day after that conference call.
No, we like when we saw that original, the first one, because I don't think anyone really knew about it. We were like, everyone was asking around, was who was that? Who was doing that? And no one knew, and it became very much a thing of, well, they're going to need people to do that. So a lot of us were like pitching to be in it. Like, well,
Yeah.
let's put us in it. Like, that's cool. Like, it's cool. Like a lot of stuff, flipping cars, throwing Molotov cocktails and stuff. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like beating people up backstage. Who
My
wouldn't want to do that? Like,
my
no
favorite
stress of
was
having to
when
pick a
they
match.
threw a cinder block through a window, and then they threw another cinder block through the window. It was
It just
already
goes, and
broken.
it just slides along the ground. I'm like,
Yes.
I don't know, not to be mean of whoever they had. They had a bunch of big, strong wrestlers
Yes.
like floating around. Like I could have thrown a cinder block through a window. Like, I
The,
would have loved to have done that.
I remember the first day, and listen, I ain't making fun of the man's height, but they had this very short fellow like waddling
Yeah,
towards the camera, going like,
yeah.
"You
There's a
better watch out!" As he's
bunch of
pointing at that.
kids in their dad's clothes. Like when you see that, like kids wearing their dad's suit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it was, and I thought that, I was slowing it down. I was like, "Who do they have under there?" Every time they did a backstage thing, we had people like analyzing it, and then
yeah,
I would hear later on, they're like, "Oh, they don't have any idea yet. They don't
yeah.
know."
No, no, they don't. So eventually, I think it was like Dijak pitched it a lot of like us joining and being it, and because we were all just told we're getting called up and then doing nothing. We were just doing nothing there. So I was like, yeah, well, this is a main focal thing. Let's get a part of it. And so when it was then a bunch of us up there, we were like, hell yeah, and we were like talking about the hoods and all this stuff. And we're like, cool, we're gonna make it like this, maybe a cyberpunky kind of newer age um, kind of rebels kind of thing. So we're not like the Shield or anything like that. And we're like putting all these ideas together, and then yeah, and then we get the masks, and we're like, oh, this isn't what we thought at all. But we got the masks, we put them on, we went and saw Vince, and he loved them. He's like, I love them.
Wow.
I'm like, yes, sir, I love it too. Like, yep, whatever you say, man.
One of the things I love about Dijak, like that is the perfect like WWE name, all caps Dijak.
Hey, Jack, yeah.
And usually what they do is they'll take one of your names away. They added like 4 syllables to his name.
Well,
They
that's
were
the
like
thing with
Dominic Dijakovic, and I'm like, he could have just been Dijak.
Jack. Yeah, and that was another thing. Like we had Thorn, Dijak, and then uh, Brent Dio
Mace.
was the other one.
Yeah.
Mace. Yeah, so he was Dio at the time. So we had Dijak, Dio, and Thorn. DDT,
Oh,
Poison. That was good thing. There, pitch that. You're Mace. You're Tiva, and you're Slapjack. Like,
who tells you the names? Was it Vince?
no, it was Pritchard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like
So, and it was like half an hour before we had to like go back out and we had to get in shit. They were like, whatever, man.
they
Uh,
like, did you ever play Streets of Rage when you were younger, like on Sega Genesis?
yeah,
They
yeah,
sounded like names that the
yeah,
guys that you would fight on there would have.
yeah. Like it's a little. Slapjack. I'm like, I knew what a slapjack was, but
Yeah.
I asked him, and it's like this badass weapon. I'm like, it's not really that badass. It's pretty dated. Like,
Stevie Ray had one in WCW
yeah,
though.
yeah. I was like, and then we were like, we all kind of got like, I bought a slapjack, and Mace got like a mace thing, and Dijak bought like a crowbar. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
what if we come out with these things? And they're like, nah. I'm like, okay.
And it was the whole thing was based on the destruction.
Yeah, I think it just as soon as like we moved to the Thunderdome and they started getting the big names back, Retribution just got pushed to the side, which makes sense. I'm like, whatever, man. Like you got all your superstars back.
Yeah.
Cool.
Had you heard that Fox wasn't necessarily comfortable with this? Because that's something that I had heard pretty early on. That Fox was like, we don't know if we want this.
We hear rumors like that, but like I'm like that's above my pay grade, man. You know if that's true or not. But like sounds right, and that's I think maybe why they shifted to more of a less of a mob.
Yeah.
And it's also we couldn't have extras because of COVID testing and whatnot. So we lost all our putty patrol, as we called them.
Yes.
Yeah. So that didn't
soldiers.
help. Yeah, so that didn't help. But then, like, yeah, I think the shift from being like more realistic to being more monsterish and fanciful, and I'm like, well, let's fully lean into that then. Like, let's go all the way with that. And then it just hovered and fizzled out.
And the thing was, there was incredible interest in Retribution. Like, one of the things that our site does, we pay a lot of attention to the YouTube views because it will show you what people are going out of their way to watch.
Yep.
And before even like everybody was kind of revealed, like the Braun Strowman thing did like 30+ million, and then the debut on SmackDown 4 million. Attacking Andrade and Zelina did good, and then like beating up Drew and Keith did great. Like every week it was unreal. And then when you all got in the ring, it was still doing good stuff.
Yeah,
like
good
Hurt
stuff,
Business was. And then Mustafa Ali being revealed was. So there was an incredible amount of interest in this. Why? Like I'm shocked that they would look at something that is an objective success from that metric and be like, let's de-emphasize it.
I don't know. Maybe they don't like. I don't think Vince is on YouTube. I don't know if he's scrolling Twitter.
I like to imagine that Vince is like, I gotta watch Botchamania. I gotta watch the new one.
He's vanity searching every day.
He is. That's what he's doing. He's going to like Wrestle Talk and watching the British fellas talk in front of their green screen. That's what he's doing with his free time now.
Right now. Like what was the Peacock deal was like what 10 billion or a billion or something. I'm like, he doesn't give a shit.
No.
Like, what does he care like anymore? He doesn't care what you think. Which is pretty clear. He doesn't care what we think.
Yeah. Do you have
He's a good guy.
Do you have a favorite moment of Retribution? Like one that you look on fondly?
I think like just I don't know how comically bad things would like we'd just keep pitching and then they'd come back with something completely from they're like yeah and then all right, here's something completely different. For me personally, I think I've told this story before about where we would do our promos, our backstage things was the same area, and there'd always be one building security guard there off to the side. That was his door, and I got there early to the area early one time just to kind of lay out what I was going to do. And he like comes over to me. He's like, "Hey man, don't want to interrupt you, but like, I just wanted to tell you, man, this is so cool, man. I love Slapshot." And I'm like, actually, the name's Slapjack. And he goes, and just goes back to his door and just stands there like we never, like completely ignored.